Hello, traders. It is Tuesday. It's 8 a.m. here in Chicago, the 26th of November, 2019. This is episode number 1647. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. This morning, again, we had a strong pop higher overnight in the indices. Crude oil leads the pack this morning, up 0.59%. 34 cents, trading at 58.35. Pretty strong couple of days for crude. Followed by the bonds. The bonds are actually higher despite the indices being higher as well. The indices across the board, looking at the Russell and NASDAQ trading near the highs. The S&P is right at the high yesterday. But the bonds are still up 20 ticks. The Bund is up 27 ticks. The 10-year is up 6 big ticks. And then, strangely, we have the Dow up 21, ES up half a point, and the NASDAQ up 1.25. The laggard today is the cable and gold. Gold is way down from where it was just a couple weeks ago. It's trading at $1,455. The DAX and the Euro stocks are off by about 0.1% from settlement. So odd behavior here given where we are. And also yesterday, I got to tell you, yesterday was definitely not what was expected and the usual for this time of year, and especially this week given the holidays on Thursday and Friday. So here in the U.S. Yesterday was a little bit on tilt, in my opinion, in terms of historical behavior. In terms of what has happened overnight, now we had a massive spike. Massive, maybe it's too strong. It's 15 points. We had a large spike around 7:30 ish. 7:45 p.m. Central Time, and that came out on news that China Vice Premier Liu He and U.S. Trade Representative Lighthizer have reached consensus on solving issues and agree to keep in contact regarding Phase 1 trade deal via phone call on November 26th. So here we have it again, ladies and gentlemen. We have something that resembles an agreement causing a massive spike. The market returned to the scene of the crime after that. I'll show you that. It's very, very clear. And then at 10 o'clock Central, we had the China Global Times, which is basically a newspaper, but really it's the government. It's another spokesman for the government. U.S. and China may have discussed tariff removal or agricultural purchase and possible face-to-face meeting in today's earlier call. China and U.S. remain at odds over how much tariffs should be cut. So it just looks rosy, as one would expect as we head into the end of the year and into an election year. Stuff's gotta move on, right? So that's where we stand. In terms of other events. We did get the Case-Shiller just now, and then looking ahead, we don't have anything significant this morning. So we do have some numbers at 9 o'clock, new home sales, nothing really big, and consumer confidence as well. So new home sales, Richmond Fed, consumer confidence all at 9 o'clock Central, 10 Eastern. Fed's Brainerd is speaking at 1 p.m., and then we get API crude oil stock change at 4:30 Eastern, and that's about all she wrote. Let's take a look at what was expected yesterday versus what we got. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that this is way off. This is way off. The expectation yesterday, given the overnight session, given the holiday, given the location, that it's right on top of the MC point of control, the expectation is it likely explore up and down. Really didn't expect much more than maybe a 10-point range yesterday on both scenarios. The first scenario is sideways, test down and test up, then go sideways. The second scenario, test up and then drop into the gap zone and then hold sideways. Not at all what we got. Complete miss there. We instead got an open drive that had a continuation, and we left this gap zone behind. We did not even bother to check the gap zone. Complete miss, no trades at all. Not my kind of day. However, it did show a little bit of respect to the key areas. For me, 24, 23 half, and then we have the 27, 28 area, and then it stopped at this stock zone, which is a projection, a measured move projection of 31.34 with a high of 33.50. But honestly, what good is that if the scenario is completely off? So I wasn't going to sell against that higher level. Could have just consolidated and continued into the close. The profile yesterday was P-shaped. It could not rotate down meaningfully. You can see that the major rotation of the day was at the open, and then it tried a little bit on this rotation down, but mainly the up rotations were much stronger than the down rotations, and so this is where we stand. There's news just now that the Capitol building is being evacuated. So is the White House. The news feed is saying that the White House reportedly on precautionary lockdown after airspace violation. Fighter jets scrambled to the area. So keep an eye on that. We may see a reaction in the market there. We did see a little bit of a reaction as that came out a little bit earlier and has been confirmed. But note the profile finished with a weak high, finished near the top. So we expect it to walk up, to continue to walk up into the overnight session. Check out the overnight session. Oh, no, that's composite. Check out the overnight session. That's your spike here on the news from China on this deal. Here's another view of it on CT Bookmap. You could see that we reopened. We started to climb, and then we had this basically a 15-point spike right here. And then the market immediately went right back to the scene of the crime, retested the scene of the crime, and has dropped through to yesterday's point of control, tested the point of control, which was at 31.28-ish. I think it's 31.2875. The low is 31.28, and then we've been holding steady and quiet for the rest of the session. The volume in the overnight session has been pretty strong. Relatively strong, especially for this time of year. So overall, we have a news effect yet again. We have a B-shaped profile overnight. The market is beneath its mid, which was created based on a spike. It's below mid, below VWAP at the point of control, which also happens to be at yesterday's high. It's a tough position to open in, as this spike higher might indicate that we have an excess, but again, it's the overnight session, so we have to kind of take that with a grain of salt. The delta overall is flat, and the inventory appears to be flat to me. The overnight inventory appears to be flat to me. So again, back to CT Bookmap. Again, you can get a 14-day trial of this at ctbookmap.pro. And if you get the CT version of Bookmap, you also get the scratch point indicator and further improvements as we develop them. Note the liquidity at the prior all-time high has been sitting there all night. It's where the low was. And then beneath that, liquidity shows up at 31.21, and then above there we have it at 50, which makes sense. It's a mid-century figure. And then we also have some at 38 through 39.50. Now that's not a stock zone for me. The stock zone for me is around 41.50 and there's a little bit of liquidity above that. Hard to say what we should expect here today. Honestly, it's almost like rollover week or expiration week. It's a coin. A lot of this is a coin toss. So you pretty much, I think, in this kind of environment, we have to be really good at reading price action and responding on a shorter time frame, unless we're swing trading to the long side. So it's hard to kind of find structure, at least for me in my style of trading currently. Before I move on to what's expected for today, guess what I'm going to hit you with? I'm again going to hit you with this petition that I hope to put in front of the CME in the next week or the week after, the first or second week of December. And it needs to be signed by as many people as possible. The reason I'm pushing this out, I'm looking for the micro CL, the micro crude, is because when the S&P goes into this grindy, slow kind of trade, it is important for us to have other products to diversify to, and a non-correlated product that we can diversify to is crude. It moves quickly, but it's very, very it's very tough to trade on the big contract, and so we are demanding or asking for the micro crude so that there's a way to move our trading to something else, and we train at the lowest cost possible by trading a micro. So please take a moment and sign that petition, ft71.com. It's also in the video description. It's also in your chat box. Just click. It takes about 10 seconds, 30 seconds to get it done. Let's take a look at what's expected for today. Let me turn on my stock zone areas. You can see how the markets responded. 31.28 is the prior high. Let me switch colors. Is the prior high, a stock zone there. And as I said, 31.34 is a stock zone as well. We're opening right up against it. This is, a dartboard kind of scenario, but given the gap and go scenario, given that we have a relatively a pretty weak high, given the spike in the overnight session, the expectation as we open is that we are likely to push higher. I'm anticipating the market's likely to run into some difficulty pushing higher, but it'll fulfill the trend day up continuation, and I'm looking for it to rebalance back to the overnight and then tag the 31.29 area for the overnight for the yesterday's point of control, only to sit sideways. So I'm expecting a higher high, higher low, but not by much. The market does not tend to trend 2 days in a row. I expect it to be somewhat of a rest day. Again, the holidays expected to help that along, but it did a poor job yesterday. The other scenario is an open test up and then drive lower, push the overnight point of control, test that 28 liquidity, and then fall into 23 before it consolidates and then starts to work itself to the lower end of yesterday's range. It may be overdone. I don't use oscillators that tell me based on some sort of a moving average that something is overbought or oversold or anything like that. But I'm imagining that those who do are seeing overbought conditions. But the overall, I'm leaning on, in these scenarios, I'm leaning on the fact that the spike higher into 45 was immediately sold, and the market could not exceed that price or hold up there for the rest of the session. I'm also leaning on the fact that the European markets are lower for the session, setting the tone for the U.S., and I'm expecting the market to explore lower. But because we are at new all-time highs, it invites a third scenario, and you guessed it, the third scenario is either a drive open up, which is rare 2 days in a row, or an open test drive, consolidate, and then push into 41 and then take out the spike. Essentially, we would climb up the flagpole here into 45 and then potentially into 50, where we would encounter liquidity and a measured move target at the top. I'm pretty confident in the market pushing higher to find sellers, so I'm going to be paying attention to that. We do have the overnight mid at 36, and we're tangled up in the full session VWAP right now. So we'll see how it handles those if it runs away. Okay. Good luck, everyone. Again, please take a moment to sign this petition. Let's make your voice heard. ft71.com/capital MCL, Monica, California, Lagos. So just take a moment to sign up. Take care.